Hello, you're watching Bones and Stones, and today we're going to do a natural history quiz. There's going to be 10 questions. The first 5 will concern objects from my own personal collection, and the next 5 will be picture questions because the things that I'm going to ask about will be, for obvious reasons, not things I can have in my own collection. So without further ado, let's get started. First of all, I have a feather. You have to tell me what feather this is. What bird produced this feather? Have a look at it. It's very long. The second object I want you to identify is this fossil. Have a look at that. It's very small, so I am going to have to zoom in on it, otherwise you've got no chance of identifying it. The third object is a mineral. Have a look at this. It's got some interesting properties which I will show you in a close-up. And as for the next object, we have a skull. Every natural history quiz must have a skull. The jaw is glued to the rest of the skull, but have a look at it anyway. I'll put this in close-up as well. And I want you to tell me what species does it come from. It can be found in the UK. And then the last object is in this jar, and I'll take it out of the jar and show you in close-up, but you've got to identify what species does this beak come from. Okay, so now for 5 picture questions. The first one is this tree. What tree is it? And why is it tilting like that? Okay, have a look. What species of tree is it? And why is it tilting in such an odd way? Next, we have the corpse of some animal found on the beach. What is it? Why is it special? And then we have this fluffy stuff on this tree. What is this fluffy stuff? Animal, vegetable, mineral, something else? Have a look, what do you think it is? This fluffy stuff on this tree. Next, I want to show you an illustration. But what is it depicting? You've got 2 things here. What are they? And then for the last question, this is probably very easy, you've probably identified it already. What species of fish is in the mouth of this grey heron? What species of fish are we looking at here? And if you go fishing, this fish will be instantly identifiable, I'm sure. Okay, so those are the 10 questions. If you want to watch them again, just replay the video, you know, it's YouTube. Otherwise, I'm now going to tell you the answers. So first of all, there aren't many birds in the UK that could produce this feather. This is the feather of a grey heron, my favourite bird, Ardea cinerea. As for this is the beak of a common squid, Loligo vulgaris. You might recognise it because you can actually watch me taking it out of the squids that it came from on YouTube when I dissected it. I'll put a link above. As for this is the skull of a Canadian mink. There are minks in the UK as well, and they're an invasive species, so they were farmed for their furs and then they got released into the wild, and now they're decimating our population of small mammals such as water voles. So there's now an effort to try and kill off as many of these minks as possible. Now, what did you think this fossil was? Well, the big clue is in the star-shaped cross-section. That 5-point star tells you that whatever this animal is, it's got pentaradial symmetry, which puts it in the phylum Echinodermata. The next clue is that it's a stem. Again, there aren't really any other options here. For Echinodermata, the only things that have stems like this are the sea lilies, so this is a fossil crinoid. Which is quite cool that we can identify it just from this tiny piece of it, but there you go. The last object, this mineral, this is Iceland spar. It's a mineral form of calcium carbonate. Another form of calcium carbonate is aragonite, which is that octagonal crystal that you can see on the logo of my YouTube channel actually. An interesting property that I showed you was by refringence, where it's got 2 different refractive indices, and that's what causes that ghosting. And because of that, the Vikings used it to navigate. Because of that birefringence, it would allow you to pinpoint the direction of the sun, even if it was cloudy. Right, those are the 5 objects. Now what about those picture questions? So, what was that tree? The tree was actually a species called Cook's pine, named after Captain Cook the explorer. It's native to an island in the Pacific, but now it can be found in ornamental gardens all across the world. And because of that, scientists have realised that it always appears to tilt towards the equator. And weirdly enough, the further away from the equator it is, the more it tilts. No one knows why or how it does this, but it does, and that's quite cool. So Cook's pine, that's what it is. Did you get what this creature was? That's the corpse of a spade-toothed whale, which is the rarest species of beaked whales. In fact, only 6 specimens are known, and this is the most recently found. They actually dissected this one and found it's got loads of stomachs, and those stomachs were full of squid beaks and other things, showing that whatever it hunts, it's deep down in the ocean. We know these things dive down, which is why we never see them. Very rare. Did you guess what these fluffy things were? Insects. This is the beach blight aphid. Those fluffy white bits are wax that it grows on its cuticle. The actual body of the aphid is blue or black. This is an aphid in the family of woolly aphids for obvious reasons. They're generally considered pests, as aphids are, although they don't actually damage the trees much. The best solution is probably to employ lots of parasitic wasps to feed on them. Right, this next one is probably one of the weirder questions. What you're looking at are 2 ocular fundi of birds. The one on the left is a tawny owl, and the one on the right was a short-tailed hawk. And what do I mean by ocular fundus? Well, the ocular fundus is basically the view you'd get if you looked in the back of the eye. It's a view of the retina, the optic nerve, all of that kind of stuff. And you can tell that these are the fundi of birds because of that black structure, which is called a pecten. It's a vascular structure we think is probably used for thermoregulation, maybe for absorbing stray light. The other interesting thing is those little pits. The owl has 1, the hawk has 2, and those are called foveas. We have 1 fovea because the function of the fovea is to concentrate all the cones which are responsible for colour vision. So the fovea is the bit responsible for our central vision, and when that goes, it's very bad. Now, last question, what fish was that? It was, of course, the Eurasian perch. You can tell from that spiny dorsal fin and those tiger-like stripes on the abdomen. So that's a very common fish. You catch it all the time if you do coarse fishing in the UK. So thank you for playing my first Bones and Stones quiz. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you learned something. And if you did like it, I've just published the Bones and Stones quiz book. This is not for resale because it's the proof that I printed before publishing it. And it's got 200 questions on natural history, all sorts, mostly picture questions. Thank you very much.